Don DiGenova is a persuasive fellow. As a local councillor in the Eastern Ontario community of Tweed, he's not afraid of a challenge. And when he and his partner, Dr. Chuck Mostert, bought this property, there was lots of lawn and little else to work with. It's amazing what a difference 4 years can make, because today, this backyard has seen a mega makeover.
I hadn't looked at those photos in a long time, so we were pulling together, all of these photos, and I could not believe how much the landscape has changed. When we moved here, I guess it was in March 2007, what we saw was the potential of what could happen with the yard. And so it was just, all around here, it was just right from the house. These big trees behind me were here, but they were much smaller, considerably smaller at the time. And then in front of it was all grass along the sides of the yard. Over where the pergola is, it was all grass. The garden was all grass. Everything was grass here. But you could see the potential. And then we got a flyer in the mail. And there was this announcing this new business in town, Fresh Landscape, and that was Diana Cassidy Bush. And we firmly believe in hiring local, supporting the local economy. So we had her over, and she wowed us right away and everything. So we talked to her about some of the things that we would like to see and like little visions we had, and so she took it away and she came back with a plan, and that started the ball rolling. And then that summer we built our first pond and our first stream, and took out a bunch of grass, and we built a gardens up top, and we built the vegetable garden and the pergola with the grapes, and it was lovely. And then 2 years later, Diana helps us every year in between. She does different things for us, but big projects. Was the second 2 years later, and we did the dry riverbed and the new stream, which is more like a babbling brook working its way through the pines and into another pond with instead of a regular bridge, is a beautiful piece of limestone as the bridge to cross from front to back. And so it's been a wonderful experience. I've just thoroughly enjoyed the change.
Separated into a variety of sections with perennials and vegetable gardens, a wonderful river runs through the middle with mature spruce trees, really reflecting the local environment of this part of the province.
And the deck has changed, and Diana, we changed I call it a shed over here, that's what it was. We put it all into, covered it all with cedar, so it'll go barn board gray. We want it to be that maintenance free as much as possible, and we also built a 3-season sunroom in there. And so been a lot of changes in, well, I guess this will be our 5th summer, but since we originally moved here. When we came here, we already had a place in Tweed. We had just moved. We weren't looking at moving, and when we saw this property, I could just see the potential. There was so much opportunity here, and I thought, I dream big, and so when we brought Diana in, like for example, the first pond and where it was coming down through the trees and grass, I said, this is what I see. What do you think? And she says, I think that will work nicely. How about I come back with a design for you? I didn't envisage that because it's so spectacular and it's so natural. One of the things is I always want to keep it natural, not to look like it doesn't fall into place. And so she came back with that design, and it blew us totally away. After that, we were so happy with what we saw. We just kept working with Diana, and we said, what do you think if we did something like this? And we talked about, well, it's quite comical because we were going to have the falls start from down there. But we always thought, wouldn't it be nice to have the falls winding through the trees and whatnot? But then, you start talking too much money. So then Chuck, okay, he was out here, and we were telling him what we were thinking of doing for phase 2. And he says, well, did you ever think of having the stream run through the trees? And we go, what a great idea! So anyway, that's how that all came about. And then I wanted the dry riverbed. Again, it's all Diana's design. I just say, this is what I'm thinking of. And then she comes back and she makes it happen. She works her magic.
Well, you know, Dawn and Diana have created a beautiful spot here to come home, and, for me to come home and relax. But I think Dawn's mentioned that initially when we met, I dreamed that I might become a gardener, but it just has never been a passion of mine to get down in the dirt. And but I just love coming home to it's just a piece of nature. It's a work of art. The birds are chirping, and it's just a lovely spot to come home and relax and unwind after a day of work or a day of whatever. So it's just a beautiful spot. I've told Don that heaven forbid anything happens to him, I know how quickly the for sale sign will go on the house. That I think I could keep it with a lot of help for a short while, but there is no doubt that I could not manage the place. There's no way.
Well, I really like the topography and the different layers that the garden could have. As you walk around the property, you'll see the views. I wanted to maximize some spots where they could enjoy their views, as well as have a bit of a waterfront property to it. Lake on the mountain is what I like to refer to it as we are up in a real high elevation in this spot. Some of the challenges that we ran into were working with the trees that were here and trying to salvage as much of that as we could, as well as the rock that we were excavating out. But it was great because we were able to incorporate most of those back into the gardens. I love the idea of working with the trees that were here already and the slope that was there, and turning it into a beautiful focal point for the backyard. I think rock placement is key. Don also has referred to me in the past as a rock artist. So yeah, I was just positioning every rock in a certain way that did give it that natural feel, and not overdoing the rock either, having the plants kind of grow in over the edges of the stream, and just to soften the rock. Contrast here.
But it was all grass up there. The trees were back further, all grass, and this was all grass. And what we thought was, because of the slope of the land, that it would be nice to have a waterfall working its way through here with all natural rock all around it, flowing into this pond feature that Diana did. Again, working with the nature of the stone, which is the limestone, okay? Building the limestone into it so it looks more natural. It's just a nice way to get away from it all. And so we get away from it all every night. And for me, this is not work. I remember when I first met Chuck, it was like, there was this little bit of a tension there, because we'd come home and he'd want to read his newspaper and I want to get right in the garden. And then there was sort of this like, you're always working, you're always working. For me, I was unwinding.